All right, Steeler fans, second half Wednesday show, time for the mailbag segment. If you want to know how to get your question answered, all you got to do is find me on Twitter at jhartman, HERTMAN_PIT. I put out the tweet every Tuesday morning. You leave the question and we answer. Now, this case, Coach, are you ready for this? We're going to do rapid fire.
Let's go.
All right, so Steely's burner account, he says, well, Jeff, you borrowing one of Bad's jerseys to take the field as the quarterback one of the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. I got faith in you, brother. Hey, I'll tell you this. I think I got a little juice in the arm. You know, I feel like I still got some throws. Coach, you might have some throws in you. You going to try out?
Hey, man, I played quarterback in high school, so, what the heck? Let's go.
Yeah. At this point, it's me versus Skylar Thompson. I like my chances. All right, let's go to Believers, the Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. Here's the question. With the moves made, quarterback options dwindling, and free agents lost, in your opinion, how does the team's roster look compared to last year? Coach, here are your options. Worse than last year, about the same, or better than last year? What do you say?
At the moment, it's worse because we don't have a quarterback. But if you sign Rodgers, you add Cup, and what we just talked about in the first part of the show, I think it could be better.
I said about the same. They're going to sign a quarterback. And if they sign Russell Wilson, it's going to definitely be about the same. But if they, it could be better, could be about, I think I voted for about the same. All right, let's go to Jeff Coons, our buddy up north. He said, greetings from Not Matt, Canada. This isn't a question, but more a comment. It's day 2 of the tampering period. The team pulled off a big trade for a wide receiver one on Sunday night. Free agent signings have been slow and deliberate. Omar Khan has a plan, and I trust he's executing it. This is a weak free agent class and an upcoming draft with specific position strengths. I trust Omar will make the team better through a long-term plan with trades in the draft. That hashtag Ride or Die Crew party at the 2026 draft is in Pittsburgh will be legendary, which we are already trying to figure this out. I've been in touch with the CEO of Fans First Sports Network. 2026, definitely going to do something in the city of Pittsburgh for the draft. Coach will be there. I'll be there for sure. You believe in that, Coach? You believe that Omar Khan, you trust in Khan?
I don't believe Omar Khan is getting caught with his pants down right now. I think that he had a plan going into this offseason and he's executing it. I don't think it's like, oh, shoot, we're getting outbid by everybody. Maybe that's a little bit true at the quarterback position with Justin Fields, but I do think that the Steelers had their eye on 2026 because they're operating like this is the way that they want to go about this free agency.
Yeah, and the thing is even if they got Justin Fields, he had upside and he had the chance of maybe shocking everyone, but the odds were not in his favor that he was the guy. The Steelers know that's why they didn't go to where the Jets went in the contract. They know he's not the guy. Aaron Rodgers would be the epitome of a bridge quarterback. He only has a few years left in his career, let alone like what he's long-term hope. Let's go to Trent Gang. He says, with the stockpiling of compensatory picks, it's clear this team is trading up for a quarterback next year. Who gives the Steelers the best chance to win in 2025? So we know the options, Rodgers, Wilson, and see all of the field, I guess. Who gives them the best chance, Coach?
Rodgers, no doubt.
I agree. I think that Rodgers gives them the best chance. I think they can win. They could win 8 to 10 games with Russell Wilson. I honestly do believe that. But if you want to try and actually compete, I think Aaron Rodgers gives you the best chance.
I'll say this real quick about that, Jeff. If you get to the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you like your chances. Because Aaron Rodgers is probably, even at 41, 42 years old, you still think, hey, man, we're in a big game in December or January with Aaron Rodgers. Okay, we got a shot. And you just didn't feel that way at all last year with Wilson.
No. And I don't think he's been to a playoff game since 2021. I think it's been a while. So he wants to get back there. And that's why if it's like, hey, you want to get back to the playoffs, the Steelers do that. They haven't won. We know that. The Giants, come on now. Like these are apples and oranges that we're comparing. All right, next question. Let's go to Plain and Simple, or Maddie. He said, howdy, as always, from Atlanta. How does the compensatory draft pick process work for dummies? He said, I'm not familiar with it at all. I'm curious as to how it works. Do they get more picks by signing less free agents after their own free agents leave? So let me explain this quickly. He has a second question. So if your free agents leave and they get a significant contract elsewhere, so you look at Dan Moore, $50 million guaranteed, $80 million overall. That's a qualifying contract. You look at other players who have left, even James Daniels, 3 years, $24 million, qualifying contract. You look at the other players that have left. I'm trying to think of another contract that was a qualifying contract. Dante Jackson. I know Najee Harris actually does, and definitely Justin Fields. Right now, the Steelers have all these players that have left that are qualifying contracts. Now, when the Steelers sign someone like Malik Harrison, it negates one of those deals. So there's a good chance that probably, just thinking off the top of my head, Dante Jackson's signing with the Chargers is going to be nullified by the signing of Malik Harrison. So after all is said and done with the free agency, they look at what you lost, what you gained in free agency, and then you get awarded compensatory picks if you lose more than you gain. That's why it's important in this theory that the Steelers are trying to stockpile comp picks. If they signed a released player, that does not count against the compensatory formula, because you have to complete your contract to be in the formula. So if they get Aaron Rodgers, doesn't count. They get Russell Wilson, does count. Russell Wilson did complete his contract, so that would count. Keep that in mind. All right, second question. Why is Omar is standing put in free agency so far? After DK Metcalf, it's been silence. He said, but there's so many holes. Are they really going to rely on that many rookies in the draft? Coach, what do you think?
I don't think that they have that many holes really on their roster right now. I mean, they're going to fill the quarterback spot. Once they fill the quarterback spot, other than a second running back to complement Jaylen Warren, the offense is fairly complete. On the defensive side of the ball, I mean, they need depth in certain spots, but you could line up today with 11 Pittsburgh Steelers from last year's team, basically, that you feel fairly comfortable with starting on defense. So I really don't think there's that many holes. Depth is the issue.
And there's depth pieces are still out there. You're not going to, the free agent starters are probably dwindling, but you still have those depth pieces available. So stay tuned. They're still going to make some moves. Let's go to Omar. I don't know if this is Omar Khan. I doubt it, but maybe. He says, what are your thoughts on Tyler Lockett? Would be a great veteran presence in the locker room and maybe help with the possible outburst with GP and DK. Love the show. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Omar. Tyler Lockett is slated to be released, I think, last I heard. Coach, what's your take on him?
Yeah, that's a good name. You heard me talk about Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Kupp would be my preference simply because he's so good in the slot, and the Steelers are now loaded on the outside. But Lockett's a guy too. I don't know exactly how much slot he played in Seattle, but a crafty veteran receiver who knows how to work the middle of the field would be a great addition.
Yeah, I agree. I like Tyler Lockett, but again, how does he fit with what they have? I don't know. And some people say that maybe his best years are behind him, so we'll see. Afton Forehead said, which of the free agents that left will the team miss the most? It's a good question, Coach. What do you think?
That is a good question. I hope Cole Holcomb is as healthy as Omar Khan believes that he is, because I think Landon Roberts played a really important role on this team, because when you get against physical downhill run teams, you need a dude who's just going to step up into the hole and be able to stuff a guard, a fullback, or whatever. And he could do that. And I don't know who that guy is right now. Holcomb was playing really good football when he got hurt 2 years ago, but it's been a long time since he stepped foot on the football field. So that makes me a little bit nervous.
I agree with you. I think I'm going to go with Landon Roberts as the guy that, as of right now, there are still other pending free agents. All right, West Coast N says, hi, Jeff. Which players still available in free agency seem the most Steeler-ish to you? A bruiser like A.J. Dillon, who just got medically cleared, could pair perfectly with Warren. What are your thoughts?
A.J. Dillon, I'm not sure. I mean, he might not be built for a zone scheme. The Steelers are a zone team, and you got to find a guy that can excel in that particular scheme. I think J.K. Dobbins is a great zone back. I just don't know if I trust his health. So that's a tricky question right there. Yeah, who fits their scheme best?
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend to know all the names that are available after all the chaos that has been the last 48 hours. So that's a good question, though. Let's go to Brandon Diaz. He has several. First, should we consider trading T.J. Watt? We have no quarterback, and giving him nearly $40 million a year is not the move. What are your thoughts?
If he wants $40 million a year, you should consider it, because as painful as that is, the idea of TJ, so if TJ Watt comes to the Steelers and says, I want a 5-year deal at $40 million annually, are you going to give that to him? I mean, it just feels like that's a dangerous game that the Steelers would have to play. Now, I'd like to think that the Steelers can find a way to both reward him for the phenomenal player he's been without crippling themselves, but that's going to be a tricky negotiation. I think the answer to that question depends on what TJ wants.
Well, TJ is going to be 31 this year, and typically pass rushers on the wrong side of 30, they don't have a ton of success. So how they maneuver this is going to be really interesting. I would not give him $40 million a year, by the way. Brandon also asks, is Jaylen Warren truly a running back one, in your opinion?
I don't know if he can handle the workload that Najee Harris handled. Najee Harris was a high volume running back. So I think it's essential that the Steelers bring in somebody. I mentioned this earlier in the show. I like some of the options in the draft. I think round 2 was the sweet spot for some of those better ones. We've traded that pick away. So maybe now you got to go to the sort of the next crop in round 3. But I still think like a guy like Quinshon Judkins of Ohio State, I think he'll be around in round 3, and he's physically built to handle the toll, and he's a good zone back. I mean, I'd look there, and I'd sign a veteran who gets cut as well, so you don't have to lose any of those comp picks.
Yeah. All right, so let's go on to RJ McCollum. He said, Big Ben said he'd come out of retirement. I think he's our best bridge quarterback option for the year. I saw that Twitter video where he had his fat head in a helmet, and I was like, dang, man, like, come on, man, let's take that down. Although it would be fun to see if he could sling it around for a few games. I'm sure he could. Let's go to Ben Zimmerman. How would you feel going into the 2025 season with Rodgers at quarterback? We talked about that. I think we're both on board if the cost is right and he's healthy. So I'm going to speak for you there, Coach. I think we both covered that. Let's go to Maury Boogie. He said, quarterback looks bleak this season, Jeff. Can you change my mind on this conundrum? God bless you. Thank you, Maury. We're doing God's work here at the Steel Curtain Network. Quarterback is bleak, but Coach, there is hope, don't you think?
Again, if you get the best of Aaron Rodgers, if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I really want to play football for another year or two, Pittsburgh's a good situation. You get a good stable franchise with some good skill players and a head coach who you're probably excited to work with. It feels like we could get the best of Aaron Rodgers, the best of what's left of Aaron Rodgers, and if we do, then I think that we'll be okay.
All right. Let's go to Gooby. I'm sorry. He said, obviously, TJ's a Steeler for life guy, but with the rules leaning towards offenses and no holding calls / giving the tackles a step, I'm starting to ponder the idea of trading him for a king's ransom. I hate the thought, though. Any chance we do like what the Penguins did a while ago? And then someone else, Mark J3281, said, with obvious need, should the Steelers extend TJ Watt or trade him? Personally, I think the window is closed. What do you think about how they're going to handle this TJ Watt situation, Coach?
I think they have to get more creative with how they use him, because the days of where you just line him up on the left edge and he does his thing, those days are dwindling. Offenses are figuring out ways to slow him down. And as the season wears on, week after week after week of having to beat double teams and chips and this and that. So they're going to have to get a little bit more creative. I still think he's got some really good football left in him, but not necessarily as just this static edge rusher.
I think that right now, you hate to say it, but if you're going to trade him, if you even have a thought of trading him, if someone picked up the phone and called you, you trade him now, because his value is never going to be where it is right now. It's only going to get worse. So if someone does offer a king's ransom, I got to be honest, I'd entertain it. I honestly would. All right, let's go to James. He says, I don't even know what questions to ask at this juncture, so I'll ask this. Any big spring plans such as trips, home renovations, or grilling experiments? For me, like, home renovations are pretty much calmed down, other than just some little things. No trips for me outside of going back to my hometown of Wheeling, West Virginia. Grilling experiments, I'm definitely getting the smoker getting going and going to be grilling more. Coach, how about you? Any big plans this spring?
Well, we're talking about a trip to Montana this summer. I'm kind of excited for that. So, and I drove through your hometown of Wheeling, West Virginia on my way to Indianapolis and on my way back.
Yeah. So you got the Wheeling feeling. You got the Wheeling feeling, Coach. You can never get rid of that. I hope you know that.
Oh, is that like a disease of some sort? Okay.
It hasn't been diagnosed. We'll put it that way. But gotcha, it's like, you're in West Virginia for 5 minutes and then you're in Ohio. All right. Let's hear. Gooby asked another one. I'd rather have Russ back at 25 to 30 million than Aaron Rodgers at 45 million. Again, those numbers are just made up. Like, people are literally making this up. And I think we lost Justin because of Mike Tomlin. What are your hopes for the quarterback situation? I kind of wouldn't mind another trade, but we don't have much draft capital left. Who are you trading for? Like, that's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, Kyler Murray. Do you really want to give up that type of capital for Kyler Murray and his contract? Is this where we are right now? I'm not in that camp. Coach, what about you?
If Arthur Smith is your offensive coordinator, you're not acquiring Kyler Murray. He is not a fit for that offense. I'm on board with if what we talked about, the compensatory picks, so we can draft a quarterback at the top of the draft in 2026. If that's the plan, I'm on board with that, because I think that is a deep quarterback class. And if you can get one of those top 3 or 4 guys, that's the ticket, man. That's the ticket to getting back into the elite conversation.
All right, let's go to Dr. Anthony. It seems like with all the quarterback drama, people aren't talking about the defensive line. We desperately need help on the defensive line, but all the top free agent talent is gone, and they released Larry Ogunjobi. So what now? Do you see them double dipping in the draft? What are your thoughts on the defensive line coach?
The way it stands right now, I'd be very surprised if they don't go defensive tackle with their first pick at number 21, because I don't think you can wait till the third round. And I think there's some really good interior defenders in this draft.
I agree. I think that this is a class that is deep in the draft, mind you, deep in the defensive line, but they're going to have to figure something out. Maybe a player gets released and you're able to snatch him up. There were a couple bigger name players that got released. I know Jonathan Allen was one of them. I was like, oh, maybe they go after him. They didn't. He goes elsewhere. Another one from Dr. Anthony. If this is a prove it year for Khan, it's not going well. Last year it was receiver. This year it's quarterback. From the outside, it seems like they had no plan B, and now they're backed into a corner with few options left. How does all this reflect on Omar Khan?
Well, I think it's a TBD, because it's hard to judge him on Wednesday. The league year effectively starts today. And I think we have to see how this all unfolds before we make a judgment.
Yeah, because we might sit here right now on March the 12th and say, this is ridiculous. This is awful. Omar Khan sucks and all this stuff. But really, let's see how it plays out. Let's see the whole offseason. Let's see what they look like going into training camp, and then we'll address it there. All right, Steeler Fan 69 always gives us some dad jokes to finish up the show. He says, the Catholic Church has patron saints for copying people emails. St. Francis of Assisi. Next one, he says, I changed my passwords to Chuck Norris. Error message said the password is too strong. I like that one a lot. I love Chuck Norris jokes. And the last one here, I told my therapist I can't get the Grease soundtrack out of my head. He said, tell me more. Tell me more. Thank you very much, Steeler Fan 69. To end this with some humor, Coach, I'll give you the opportunity to plug your Call Sheet Daily podcast. Go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, I got a couple of great guests today and tomorrow. Really good football coach here in Southern New Jersey and I going to talk about designing a passing game, how you attack coverages, how many concepts do you have in your package. So looking forward to that conversation with Andrew Daly. That's today, Wednesday, and then tomorrow for all you guys wondering about Aaron Rodgers. So my guest is going to be Joe Callahan, who was backup quarterback in the NFL for about 5-6 seasons with a bunch of different franchises, but he backed up Rodgers in Green Bay in 2016 and 2017. So we're going to talk about his experience as a backup, and I'll absolutely work in some Aaron Rodgers questions.
Awesome. Love it. Coach, thanks for your time today. Make sure you all check out the Wednesday or the Friday show. We'll have Jeremy Jerome Betts on the All Bets Are Off segment. But that does it for me. Now we finish it up. Be safe, be kind. God bless. We'll see you on Friday. Go Steelers.